So let's continue our discussion on the tarot and the new meanings. So, on my last channel, before I deleted it, COVID happened, midlife crisis happened, toxic relationship happened. I had to delete everything and start over, a few years later, trying to decide what I was going to do. And I ended up coming back to do the same thing. I can't separate uh, spiritual life coaching, my occult knowledge, and yeah, so here we are. Welcome back to my channel. And we are going to continue our discussion with new meanings for the tarot and understanding it deeper. So, my videos, actually, all of my work is for people who are sick of the basic stuff that gets generated and re talked about over and over again. And so it moves into advanced, it moves into deep, it moves into depth, and something that I live for and crave. You know, it's the mysteries always call you because it's deep knowledge, deep truth, deep energy, and it will always be attracting you as curious people. We want to solve these things. We want to know. And as we know, that expands our awareness and our consciousness, and we grow in our power. So, love, wisdom, and power. Recently, I learned uh, through assisting a client uh, in a very toxic relationship that's gone on for years and gone through court, um, through the listening of the story, through getting to know the person, through a series of interactions. Uh, I came to the realization. So her situation helped me grow and in turn heal me. I realized until we stop giving our power away to the so-called other person, the problem in our life, the pain, the the obstacle, the person, the situation, until we stop, because what's going on is when we make the other person, and this could be also in a good way, when we idolize someone, a person, place, a thing, a job, a career, an object, a status, when we elevate it, we're giving our power away. When we push it down and make it sinister and dark and evil and the bad guy, we're giving our power away equally. So whether you do it on the positive light scale or whether you do it on the density negative scale, you're giving your power away. And the only power, so the huge revelation for me was the only power, because I was like, where's this power? The only thing that exists is me, the I am. And then that goes into a whole nother level. Okay. But the only power I experience in the game of life is me. So the only thing I could give is myself. Dun dun dun. Now we get disassociation. We get bipolar disorder. We get severely fragmented personality disorders. We get the loss of self. We get the soul injury. And then what does a shaman do but gather all the pieces and bring them back? Or the quick version, you gather all the pieces by centering yourself, owning your energy, owning your life, empowering yourself, and you magnetize them back. So we inflate other people, places, things to be glorious and larger than life and bigger than we are. And then we kind of deflate ourselves, shrink back, we doubt ourselves, we have anxiety, we refer to a disempowered image of ourselves versus an empowered image of ourselves. So in in a in a wizard's world, there's only power, and you play with that. You're either giving it away, you're accumulating it, you're storing it, you're working with it, you're sensing it, you're understanding it. So power is a little bit different than energy. Uh, but but yeah. Anyways, moving on. So I quickly realized I'm playing in the devil card, and my lesson is the devil card. and it clarified it. And with that clarification, it's always associated with other cards. One card doesn't stand alone, yet it stands alone. There's a paradox there. Each card is the whole entire deck in one, yet cards clarify each other and create a bigger tapestry of meaning. So the card that goes with it, the Tower. And what is the Tower? I call it the card of pride. And when we think too highly of ourselves, we might get ourselves into hot water. We overestimate ourselves and find ourselves underqualified for the position and have to face the humiliation of being fired, have to face the humiliation of confessing you don't know it all, or you shouldn't be. So you might have that instinctual drive to feel like you deserve this greater position, but if you don't really have the skill set and the knowledge, you have to work twice as hard to maintain it or confess, or suffer. And so this happens in all areas of our life. So with the word pride clarifying the Tower card, we now understand why it's a great fall, why a calamity is happening. It's not forces of nature working against you, it's your own ego. And so you can think of when the Tower card is coming into a reading, if it hasn't happened, it can happen and may have happened. So that's when you inquire with your client, and they'll tell you, oh, that happened a week ago. That was when my boyfriend decided not to wear his seatbelt, and then we went on this drive and he was drinking, and then we got in a car wreck. Obviously there was pride there, not putting on your seatbelt, not considering other people's lives, overestimating yourself. So they'll tell you, or that hasn't happened yet. Great, it's a warning. So part of this future prediction, so conversation and dialogue should be happening between you and your client. They fill in blanks because you have blanks, and you fill in the blanks for them. So you're both working together to put this grand puzzle together. And don't expect you to put it all together for them. They're not here for that. So the Tower card I rename Pride. The Death card I kind of labeled, the first time around, I labeled it Zombie. When you're unconscious, you're like living dead. Some people say by the time you hit 25, you've had so much programming and so much stuff go on in your life that you've given up on life by the age of 25. And the rest of your life is just coping with that personal give up. And I was like, that makes sense. So this could be the Zombie card. But then today, it actually represented healing, resurrection, rebirth. Obviously a healing and a transformation has to take place. But when I call it transformation, we throw that word around. I'm evolving, I'm transforming, these big new age words. Well, what does that mean? That means the old programming identity has to die and rot. And the new version of you needs to somehow come forward. The wholeness, the integration, the remembrance. So the Death card could now show up as a medical operation, a literal surgery, a literal physical surgery or healing. And in the medical community, there are more deaths going on with pharmaceutical companies and the medical field than there were with all the wars put together. So when I think medical and the healing, I think death, and death, healing, and medical. So that's why I actually name it the health card, health, medical health. So in a reading, it's going to relate to that more so than transformation, because currently right now, it's very unpopular to actually do the real work and actually just spiritual bypass and do what's fun. because the real work is like labor, and it is work, and it's not easy. Okay. Wow. That was a lot of information. I think one of the most misunderstood cards is the Chariot card. And I really think uh, over time, the image has been kind of changed, softened, made pretty. Uh, but I really almost think of it as the general of an army, you know? So I think of it as the warrior, I think of it as the athlete, the champion, the hero, ambition. And you're like, but that's a Cancer card. And I'm like, well, don't you know the opposite of Cancer is Capricorn? And don't you know those two end up being management material? You know, they play mom and dad in companies. And it takes a lot of ambition. And it's actually the Cancerian that is way more ambitious. And Cancer rules the body and the moon. So it's a very powerful force close to the earth. So that's where they get all this power from. And underneath it is ambition. So, and every, it seems to be like there's a lot of Cancer men that really work out their bodies. You know, um, they look like people, you know, people from the movie 300. I see them at the gym all the time. Uh, so they're very health conscious as well, looking like fit athletes. Michael Phelps, I think, is a Cancer with is Mars in Cancer, I think. But he definitely has some like Aquarius energy going on and some Cancerian energy. So it made sense that he was an athlete in the field in the sport of swimming. So that's just my quick reference to that. But it really makes more sense to drop the astrological add-ons and just see it in its more pure form. There's a warrior on his chariot with his spear and his horses, which was in, you know, it's a picture of battle. So yeah, so I would probably rename that warrior because it's not the emperor, it's like a general or a warrior in line to become a king or an emperor. So, and a general makes sense when we have the knights on their horses with they're younger and they're sent out on a mission, you know. So if the higher cards are the higher form of these, it's going to be the general of an army. So we're going to get like still an elite level of physical power is really, I think, what the chariot card is about. Your body is the chariot that you move through this. It is your vehicle. So there we go. Moving on. The moon card. I think I'm going to name it Primal Instinct because when you really look at the card, it's polarized, but not very polarized. It's still all very dark. It's all very moon ruled. And everything about it is kind of like subterranean, underworld, haunting. And that's like the primal realm. So I obviously would give the astrological designation to Cancer, not Pisces. Uh, just because it's primal. So it's still dealing with primal instinct. Um, I would actually give the High Priestess card to Pisces / Neptune. But we won't have to worry about that whole debate. It's a whole nother thing because we're really just looking at the card. Um, so when that card comes up, we're considering instincts, we're considering mental balance. And this is a word I don't use enough, balance. Because the reality of it all we can do is balance heaven and earth. All we can do is balance internal forces. We can balance our thoughts, balance our feelings to the best that we can, inner forces, outer forces, and that's how we move through this world moment by moment. So the issue of balance, chemical balance, substance abuse, that throw someone off balance, lifestyle choices, relationships, everything primal. So that would be everything primal. Instinct, your instinctual reaction to danger, fear, people. Uh yeah, so it's a volatile energy. It's always ever changing. Nothing is ever stabilized except the fact of what it is. That it is primal, that it has to do with being very close to the earth and to the animal nature of our bodies. So it has to do with sexuality as well. Our turn ons and our turn offs move into senses of danger, senses of pleasure, sense of what is good, what is bad. So we're not seeing high intellect going on. We're seeing instinctual survival intellect. So, it's not university stuff going on with the moon card. And yet, we can't deny the power of the primal self. It's like our laws and everything that tries to keep humans uh, from being wild animals, is to try to control this primal power. Yet, when we control it and domesticate ourselves too much, we're zombies. We're not happy. We're depressed. We're loading ourselves up on entertainment and pleasures and checking out of reality. And we move into fantasy and illusion and distortions and mental sickness, all because there's no room for the full honoring and development of our primal nature, which a lot has to do with religion. See the Wheel of Fortune card. See the Sagittarian energy. A lot of it has to do with religion, of trying to, and it was toxic. It wasn't true, but we deemed our natural self as evil, as the devil card. And now we pay the consequence with death, the medical card, with surgeries, with not being able to handle life and death. We overvalue life, we undervalue death, we don't recognize the cycles of life. We try to live forever, and we think that's human progress. So, there's a lot going on with just one card. And we use these other cards to kind of fill in the tapestry. And so you could see what's going on with relationship dynamics. We are instinctually attracted and repulsed by people, and logically that doesn't make sense. We see it with gender identity wars. What you primally feel as you, maybe you're so, and yet society doesn't accept it or does accept it. But nature's wild. Nature has its own way of doing things. And here we are always trying to contain nature, and then we're going to end up as brains in a jar, living forever. And are you happy with that? Or will you honor your body? Will you honor death? Will you honor the severing of ties, the letting go? Will you honor your anger? And will you honor, and through this honoring, will you transcend to the level of the sun? Clarity, forgiveness, joy. Because the primal self doesn't really care about that. This is like getting those basic needs met. So it's not about exactly being wrong or right, but a lot of wrong, right, he said, she said. A lot of the fighting and bickering and gossip all has to do with the moon card and our primal nature, and our limited brains trying to override our primal instinctual nature. It's not always right. It's based on genetic memory, and our situations and our social structures change, due to popular moralities. And so you can't just tell everyone this is right and that is wrong. It goes against our primal instinct. It goes against nature. yet we do it anyways. We play this game, and then people who have a high instinctual level, high primal level, get criminalized. So there we are back at the devil card in those in the what was called a toxic relationship. People get demonized for being real, for being alive. So now God is a concept. Now gender is a concept. Now reality is a concept. But on the primal nature, it's not like that.